But this thing over here, oh boy, I don't even know how this is gonna get taken down. Another thing we have going on at the campground right now is we have to get all of the branches that could potentially be above tents or in any of the common spaces trimmed. Do you know how much it costs to get branches trimmed from trees? It's very, very expensive. It's a lot easier to take down trees in many cases than to actually get the branches trimmed. So unfortunately, can't really avoid it. We have a lot of trees. We probably have 1,000 trees here. And now it's time to go around and identify any last minute trees that need to be fully taken down, any trees that can be saved with some trimming, and then any trees we might have to just keep an eye on. So there's a tree right in the middle of the dome tent area that I cannot believe I didn't realize it was dead, because I've had a ton of trees taken down already. And now that the dome platforms around it have been made, it's a lot harder to take down trees when you don't want to hit stuff. And I can't believe I missed this. This maple right here is completely dead. It's right in the middle. It's really a prominent tree. It's really unfortunate. I mean, this thing is old. It's been here for a long time. Looks like it had an old tent number in it. Somebody told me that nailing even a small nail into a tree can kill it over time, which I had no idea. And I guess it doesn't surprise me, but trees are so majestic and big, but they're also very sensitive. But this thing over here, oh boy, I don't even know how this is gonna get taken down. You can't just cut it down because it's like wedged up in another tree actually. So you got a tree, the V of a tree, holding half of a tree that broke off from there. Here's another good example of a really nice and healthy tree, but you've got some bigger branches up there that we need to trim up because it's going to be right over a tent, right over a dome tent right here. So, you know, a branch of this size falling on a dome tent isn't going to necessarily kill anybody, but it's going to definitely do some damage to the tent. We want to avoid any damage to the tent and any damage to people as well. We're going to do our darndest to get this place looking beautiful, still having a ton of tree coverage, but being safe. Something like this, I think it's actually sort of cool. It's got like fungus on it. And even though it's a half a tree, it doesn't actually look like it could like blow over or anything like that. So maybe that's an example of nature's beautiful nature that can just be kept. This here is one of my favorite tent sites so far. And the reason is that it has all of this old campground charm to it in terms of all the rocks that have been piled around trees, or even come check this out. It's got a patio of all natural rock that's been laid into the ground. So essentially a stone patio in a campground that just makes it feel really just like priceless. I mean, this stone patio could have been done 50 years ago, and it doesn't look like you would if you were at home where it's nice and grouted or has cement in between, it's dirt in between, but that's what makes it special. And of course, with a campsite like this where you're sitting back here, maybe your fire pit's there, you're looking into the woods and all these ferns back here, you have wildlife going through the forest. Really cool. And the orientation of this one, they're all staggered to give privacy. So every single tent site, even though they're all in this row in the back, they have a staggered nature to them and they orient different directions, which makes it feel really private despite, again, having 10, 15 tent sites back here. One of the things I have our guys doing this week is trying to get all the trash and the cinder blocks and everything picked up so that we can start making progress on the areas behind the tent platforms where there's going to be a lot of activity. People come camping because they want to have a campfire, they want to cook out, they want to hang out behind their tent. You know, the common space in the front is super important, but the people that are coming here to camp, the behind the tent scene is definitely a critical component of this experience. And one of the examples of the previous campground that we're trying to rectify with this campground is the rampant use of cinder blocks. Cinder blocks are everywhere because they were used for campfires, they were used for foundations, they were used for putting underneath the RVs. The use of cinder blocks was rampant. There's probably 1,000+ cinder blocks throughout this property. We've already given a lot away, and ultimately we're going to use a lot for future projects. So we're going to pile them away from all the campground and find a future use for them. Other things, you can see a tent pad is going to go here. We have a lot of old bits and pieces of previous structures that might have been here, things that didn't get burned. One of the things that we really have to be careful of is obviously glass and any sharp objects. So we're going to take a lot of time to take care of this type of thing. But underneath it, look at this stone. This stone is fantastic. So, you know, keeping this as some type of platform, or rather keeping this as something that could be used outside of a platform. So if the platform's there, maybe a picnic table goes on this, and it could look really cool. We got to scrap metal. Metal is recyclable and something that obviously shouldn't go into a landfill. So here's an old RV trailer base. And then all the RVs that we're not able to immediately use, we do have to find a place for them. We unfortunately don't really have a good spot here at the campground, but we need to maybe partner with a local and store it on their land and figure out when we're going to chip away at them. Regarding trash is so expensive to get rid of. Every dumpster that you have to do is, you know, $600-700 at least, depending on the size and depending on the weight. Usually maybe even as high as $1,000 of a dumpster to get rid of trash. So instead of getting rid of anything natural like leaves, stumps, even cinder blocks and things that are broken that are made of material that won't have an impact on the environment, we're gonna have an area over here on the side of the property where we slowly extend it out and just add this natural fill, because otherwise we'd have to throw it away and pay to get rid of it. And so, as you can see, this is the area where you got like bricks, you got rocks, you got cinder blocks. Everything in here is totally natural and benign to the environment, but it's not what we want to use in the campground. So we'll have an area where we can dump that and slowly add to it without it looking like a landfill.
Meanwhile,
as we work to get the campground open, it's easy to forget that we also have the Rex Hotel right up the road to manage and operate. And one of the things that is increasingly important is the landscaping. We've done a ton to make this place feel like a garden, but one of the things that I inadvertently did was, in doing so, I brought a tractor and I learned how to drive a John Deere, and I ripped up the ground enough where I damaged the roots of our beautiful 2 pine trees and I killed them. And so for the last 2 years of running the place, those trees have been dying, and today we're taking them down. It's super, super sad, but they're gonna come down on their own if we don't take them down eventually. So these 2 trees, as you can see behind me, today's the day. They're coming down.